everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Full Arch Masters podcast. Today I'm joined by a good friend and colleague, Mr. Gus Khalil. Gus has been a contributor to Full Arch Masters for a very long time. He actually got his, I would say, digital Full Arch start here years ago. And he's here today to talk about a new product or an updated product that you have been very excited about for a while. So tell us about it.
So I'm here to talk about the Micron Mapper. So what is the Micron Mapper? So it's a photogrammetry system, and it's designed to capture implant position, right? So we've discussed in this course, this is, of course, one of the most advanced courses probably in the world, right?
Probably.
And we spend a lot of time talking about the passive fit. Passive fit. What is the passive fit?
What is that?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's the holy grail.
Exactly. That's why we've had so many issues in the past. We've done thousands of cases, and the number one problem was this passive fit. So what does photogrammetry does? It's a big word, photogrammetry. What is photogrammetry? You know, people wonder, everybody's used photogrammetry at one point. What it is pretty much measuring distances based on photos, okay? So, but in dentistry, we're gonna capture the implant positions, very accurate, capture the implant positions. That way we can fabricate a bridge that's gonna seat passively every time. So that's simply what photogrammetry is. So the Micron Mapper, this is of course the Gen 2, I'll show you some features on it. It's just an accurate way, it's a digital impression and a verification jig in one.
Right, so it eliminates the need for physical models. Exactly. It eliminates the need for verification trays. It eliminates the need for like laser welding or pickup impressions or any of that. It's all eliminated based on this technology.
Exactly. So we are, guys that are doing cases left and right. Time makes the patient goes back and forth, and the analog way of doing things, you can actually spend a couple months working on a case, and even if you verify with a verification jig, you can still have an issue at the final zirconia, or it can be 2 weeks later. And if something breaks or something is not passive, what happens? We really have to start all over again. So
let me tell you a quick little story. When I was a resident at the Mount Sinai Medical Center, Bronx, VA in New York City, I was a first-year resident. So I didn't really know a lot about implant dentistry. There was a second-year resident who had been there for a year, and she was doing nothing but implant dentistry. And when I first started that year, I think it was in July or August, she was working on a full arch implant case. I remember this very specifically. And she had a bar that was made by an outside lab. Okay, and the bar didn't fit. I remember this. And so she asked me, how do I section this bar? And I said, I don't know, take it to the lab and just cut it with a disc. So she did that. And then she said, well, how do I tell them how it's supposed to fit? I said, well, just glue it together with like some pattern resin and then mail it to them. They'll weld it or something.
Weld it, yeah.
So she did that. She mailed it. And then she got a call saying it broke in transit. Okay. So they mailed it back. She had the patient back in, and we reluted the bar with pattern resin, but we did a lot more. And then she mailed it, and they welded it and sent it back. And then she tried it in, and it still didn't fit. And I kid you not, Gus, she spent a year, 1 year of her life. I remember she spent a year getting a bar to fit. And, you know, because things had to be mailed back and forth, and it was the VA, so it was slow, and it took a lot of paperwork. We were using an outside lab. So it was an ordeal. 1 year of her life and that patient's life was spent trying to get that damn bar to fit.
Absolutely. I mean, what it is, and what happens with that lab, they're just going to throw that bar away. There's nothing they can do with it.
Right. You weld it so many times.
You can't blame the lab. The lab is going to base things based on what you sent them. If you sent them a verified model that you verified with the jig, and they're gonna base it on that. So what it is the steps from analog to digital night and day. You know, it's just a lot time saving, parts, labor, and the nice thing about the digital workflow is that if you have a problem, things happen, right? Then things happen. Let's say we designed something, or we ended up delivering a bridge, and then they call you next 8 p.m. Hey, listen, it cracked, right?
Right. In dentistry, we say spit happens.
Then, you know, if we converted something by hand back in the day and that converted denture breaks, honestly, it's just a project. So now what do? You just say, okay, you can just send me a photo. My designer your designer can redesign it.
Right.
They can come back the next day and have a new bridge, right? Very little cost. So photogrammetry allows us to do that. It's going to give us, it's a tool that allows us to do that. It does it very well. You've used it in your course. Of course, you have different systems, but you've used photogrammetry and the Micron mapper. What are your thoughts on it? Like, how did it help you, with the conventional issues that we've had in the past?
Well, I'll tell you guys, I was probably one of the earliest adopters of photogrammetry in the U.S. It was probably 2018, 2019. And so there were people using it, but it was by no means mainstream. So I remember my first interactions with photogrammetry as a strategy, and I was immediately impressed with how predictable and how reliable it is. And so I did thousands and thousands of cases with photogrammetry before I ever laid eyes on the Micron mapper. And so the Micron mapper is a relatively new addition to my practice, but it's still in its infancy as a whole. So the Micron mapper is kind of like a version 2.0 from all the other systems that I've used. And all the other systems that I have used, they're kind of clunky, and they're clearly designed from an engineer's perspective.
Exactly.
They're basically a computer that you are taking to the face. The Micron mapper is kind of what the iPhone did for phones. This is now doing for photogrammetry. It's clearly sleek design. It's clearly easier to use for the average clinic. It's clearly based on sound science. So it's kind of like a Italian sports car compared to a Volvo. The Volvo is just reliable, and it's just going to get you there. It's going to get the family there safe. But this has a little bit of a sleek factor, and dentists are drawn towards that, and labs are drawn towards that. So I was impressed with the Micron mapper as soon as I used it, and it's been a great tool in my practice, and it's been a good tool for us to teach all these docs the variety of different things. So I would say good things about the Micron
Absolutely.
mapper.
And with you, I know I've known Dr. Dunlop for a long time. He's not gonna put in a review if he doesn't use it, and if it doesn't work, he's just not gonna do it, because you get approached by a lot of vendors trying to throw things at you.
All the time.
You use it for your patients. You teach people how to do it. They come to this course, guys. They see all the steps, right? I mean, yes, this is photogrammetry podcast, but this course, you're gonna see surgery. You're gonna see capturing records. You're gonna see the design, fabrication, how to deal with the patient, how to deal with so many issues from milling to printing. So photogrammetry is one of those pieces, but it's a critical piece. And a lot of people said, photogrammetry works, but we need a company that's going to be able to listen to us. So we have listened. We came out with this Gen 2 Micron mapper. Okay, we have had people use this. It's a Glock. They call it the Glock.
The
pistol
Glock.
grip, right? So what it is, literally, see, feel it. And it's pretty much a Glock. So some people have tried it. They're like, you know what? We like it. So we just started to include it on all the units. Now you can use it with or without, right? For a reason, and some people just love it with. Some people don't care for it, but that's just an option. So now we're adding this to every Gen 2, okay, Micron mapper going out. So also, when we came out with the first edition, the Gen 1, the light would stay on the whole time. Right? Yeah. So, and people complain like, listen, the light stays on. Sometimes the patient is waiting. We don't want to leave the light on for 15, 20 minutes. So we listen. Right. And then now we have a light switch. You turn on, you turn off, okay? So another thing that came up were just ideas from doctors. Gus, we spent all this, it's not a cheap technology,
Not a cheap
right?
technology.
I want something that can protect it, like on our phones. You have a phone, what is it, $1,000 phone?
Right.
What do we have on it? Case, right?
Right.
I mean,
$100.
it's designed for what? So that way when you drop it. So some doctors said, you know what, Gus? We want something that can protect it. So we went ahead and designed this bumper guard, okay? It's made out of silicone. It will be available for everybody. Gen 1, Gen 2, we're gonna send it to everybody about the Micron mapper, okay? And honestly, it protects it. We've tested it out. We don't want to give them ideas what to do, but now you have protection. So you bump it, it's fine. We don't recommend you do that.
This is a brand new unit. It already has a few scuffs. So these things take abuse.
Exactly. If somebody, let's say, drops it, the chances are you're gonna be just fine, with the bumper guard. So other than that, the ease of use, we made it so simple. When we say software, people freak out. Right. Because they're thinking literally you need to have an engineer or a PhD to kind of do. we got away with the whole software. Now we just have one simple window interface. And this window, I don't know if you can see my screen. So it's simply, you're just going to go to the screen and you're going to put in the patient's name. So we'll just put in test 1, okay? And then you just have to pick, is it an upper or lower? So I'm going to say it's a lower. And then this option right here we just added recently, okay? You can place in the actual implant positions. You can say 22, 24, 20, or, you know, a lot of people, they're not sure.
Right.
So you can just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, and that simply is going to tell the software that you have 4 scan bodies on there.
Right, so it's going to look for 4.
Exactly. So we have scan bodies, 1 set, that's going to be for capturing implant positions. Also, it's going to be for the intraoral scanning.
Right.
Okay, so now it's on, so I'm going to let you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's ready to go. There you go. He's got
So I just got to turn the light on and go, right?
Turn the light on and go. Okay. So now you're scanning. Wow. Okay. There you go. So the circle on the upper left gives you an idea what's the ideal distance. Okay. And
I mean,
done. I mean
that's like stupid fast.
That's how fast it is. And what have we done right now? On the top of the screen, now we just added this. It gives you an idea what do you have, right? Because you know that before it used to be different softwares where you have to open up. Now it shows you what you have. That gets transferred to an export folder. So it's just simple. Anybody can use this. If your daughter or your kids try to do this, the results.
They have video games that are more complicated.
Exactly. The results will be the same as you doing it. So you're able to delegate this. It's a lot lighter. It's about 500 grams. Okay, mm-hmm. So 1.1 pounds. Okay. We are listening to our clients, and then they give us suggestions on what to do.
Okay.
So right now we are coming up with some new changes this coming year.
Okay.
It's probably going to be first quarter next year. We're going to have some major changes in the workflow.
Changes in the hardware or changes in the software?
The hardware we're good because it just came out and it's the latest technology as of right now.
So people are safe to buy it.
Right. So this Gen 2 is fine. We are having any updates are free. There's no they don't have to pay for updates. But coming up maybe first quarter next year, we're gonna have a new technology that is gonna allow you to go ahead and capture the tissue without an intraoral scanner.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
It is, yeah.
It eliminates one more step.
One more step. Also, it's going to give you the relationship between the maxilla and the lower arch at the same time. So we're going to have tissue that's going to be aligned to these scan bodies.
Right.
And at the same time, we have this other technology called BAS, Body Alignment System, that's going to allow us to align the upper and the lower. Right now we're using the fiduciary markers based on intraoral scanning, which has worked.
It works fine.
It did good for us for a while.
It's a step.
It's got some. Remember, we started with the denture method.
Right.
We transitioned little by little. Now this new workflow is going to allow us to align the jaws based on photogrammetry, and that's
amazing.
Very, very accurate because the bite beat slightly off is an issue. Now you guys you've done so many arches and you do a good job, but some people struggle.
Right.
Like you have a passive seating, but the bite is off. That's the issue. So with photogrammetry alignment, that's going to eliminate that step.
Cool. And for those of you who don't understand the power of this, what we're doing here is we're capturing our implant positions autonomously from the rest of the case. So typically in full arch dentistry, there's a lot of data to acquire. You need to acquire implant positions by whether you're taking a traditional impression or you're taking a digital impression. You have to also acquire data for your suturing and your healed gingiva. So there's that layer of data. Then there's also the intermaxillary relationship between the upper and lower jaw. So there's always varying data sets that we have to collect with different instrumentation. And then it's the technician's job in the CAD software to align and marry all of this data together using alignment techniques through exocad or 3Shape or Zirconzon, one of these softwares. So the clinic's job is to acquire quality data, and the lab's job is to align that data and produce something that can be manufactured, whether through printing or milling. What you're suggesting is that the next iteration of this is going to consolidate the data acquisition side of this and be able to propel that forward for the technician. Really, that's all that matters, is the technician's going to have already aligned set of data from implants to gum tissue and bite relation.
Exactly. So what you're going to end up is a post-op in occlusion based on the bite from your pre-op, and that's going to go directly to your designer. And that's going to save them, even if it saves them 5 minutes. It's going to save them more than that.
If there's a patient sitting in the chair in pain, 5 minutes is an eternity.
It's a lot.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's very exciting stuff, honestly. And where would you say people are going to be able to learn about that first?
Well, I'll tell you, just so I want to make an announcement that we're going to be at FAM, at every FAM. We're going to have the system in stock. When you come to FAM, there'll be a box with your name on it. And if you want to pick it up and go, like we've had this session in last week,
right.
They're available. You can just take them and go home, and that way you can get started on your first case. So
that's an amazing thing too, because in all honesty, the lag time on some of this technology is one of the biggest obstacles that docs have to overcome.
It has
Whether it's
been.
the printers or it's the photogrammetry or the intraorals. I mean, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 months sometimes, and your information fades and your motivation fades, and
yes.
So you want to get going on these cases literally the moment from when you leave.
When they come in, this course has a lot of information, right? And what happens is if you go home and then you get this system 2 days later, you're going to be ready to go. If you wait a few weeks, yes, there's a few things you have to kind of, catch up on. So we're going to be in every FAM. We're going to have specials at every FAM to do something special for you guys coming in. Every time it's going to be, we did something special this one time. Next time we'll do this coming year in January. When is your next course?
January something. Yeah, we have January, February, March courses, I think. Already.
Yeah, so every course will have something special. The goal here is when you guys leave this course, we want you to be able to go home, literally get a patient lined up, and just do your first case.
Right.
Do your first case. I mean, and we're going to help you. Yes, it's not just photogrammetry. You can call me, you can call him at any time. Say, listen, I'm having a problem with a mill. I'm having a problem with capturing something with intraoral scanner. We want to help you because this thing is an amazing system, but it's one piece.
One piece of the puzzle.
Out of the puzzle.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we work with you. You can call me direct anytime. Everybody, I'm on Facebook. You can call me. And at the same time, if you want to buy it direct through our distributor, so you can go to SIN Dental USA, and that's the distributor for the United States, and they'll be able to help you and get you your unit very fast. At the same time, they're available at FAM. And it's been an exciting couple weeks. I'm telling you, we had a good time. We had a good time, and the last couple weeks, and back to back. Is that the first time you had it back to back?
It was the first time. Yeah, It was the first time we had 2 flagship courses back to back. So my team's been working for 2 weeks straight on this. All the vendors have been in and around here for 2 weeks. It's solidified Fresno as the center of the full arch digital world. And so it has been a fun and exciting couple of weeks, and you've been here for the entire thing, so
yes. Yes, we had a good time. We had a couple nice parties.
Yep.
And we learned a lot. I mean, I've been coming here over 3 years, and honestly, every time I come, I learn something new. Right? Even though we're pretty much expert in the field, but you're going to learn something new.
Absolutely, every single time.
So, let me ask you a question. People that are going to sign up for your courses, can they still catch the January or the February?
We haven't even opened full enrollment for those.
Okay.
The reason is last year, in 2022, we opened enrollment for 2023 in about July or August, and all of our courses for 2023 were sold out before 2023.
Wow. Okay.
So we sold out every single spot before we even hit the year. And so people were clamoring to get in. That's why we added this course.
Okay.
So this last course was an overflow course to fill in people who didn't want to wait till 2024. Okay. So when the 2024 enrollment opens in a week or two, it will fill up fast. I believe we have at least half of every course open. We had to roll some people over from 2023. So there will be spots for January, February, and March. Okay. And don't forget the surgical course too.
Right.
So the surgical course where you get to use this technology on your own case. So we set you up with live patients. There's no other course like this in America where we get you chair side to do your own surgeries. And then you get to use the Micron Mapper on that exact case.
Exactly.
So you're placing pterygoid implants, you're placing palatal implants, you're placing custom subs. You're doing the whole advanced surgical protocol. But then you get to use the Micron mapper on that case and really see the benefits
Exactly, see how it works exactly. If somebody's interested in signing up, where do they go?
They want to check us out online at fullarchmasters.com. Also, the Facebook group for Full Arch Masters is always active. You can join that. Those are the two best ways. If people are interested in Micron Mapper and they're not at FAM yet, how do they get in touch with you?
They can just find me on Facebook, and again, our distributor, senddenalusa.com, or just call me direct. And if you're a FAM alumni, of course, that's a special. We have a special deal for them.
It's a secret society.
It is.
that term was thrown around.
It is a secret society. Yeah. If you see us, you want to tell them about the jacket. Some people want to know about the jacket.
Yeah. Well, the jackets are our members only.
Right.
So if you come through the course and you complete the course and you are now alumni, you get to wear a jacket, and it's just a symbol of our community and of our strength and our community bond, our collaborative spirit. There's one thing that I noticed that I don't think we covered. Are these new scan bodies?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. So the scan bodies, a few people mentioned, and you even mentioned it, that, you know what, there might be a little just too small.
Right. Sometimes the gingiva is 3-4 millimeters thick and it was covering the bottom.
Exactly. So what we did is we redesigned them. They make them slightly a little taller and a little bigger, and they work excellent on pterygoids. Okay. So these are the Gen 2 scan, the scan bodies.
Okay.
And people love them. We're going to start sending them out. You're pretty much the first person to try them out.
I noticed a difference, honestly.
Yes.
It was improved workflow.
Yes.
They scanned faster. They were easier to seat.
Yes. It comes with 10 scan bodies versus 8. And then at the same time, they last over 400 times. We tested them out in the 500s, but 400 times, you can literally take them out, clean them with water, rinse them out, put them in an ultrasonic, autoclave them up to 400 times, no problems. And it's not plastic. Somebody mentioned it's plastic. This is Tika Peak. It's a very dense.
It doesn't feel.
It's a dense material, biocompatible material, very strong. Okay,
right.
And people like them. We listen to people. I mean, if you say later on, like one thing from the last scan body, somebody mentioned that the tip of it is a little too sharp, and if you scan with the intraoral scanner, sometimes it misses it. So now we curved it slightly, and that issue is gone.
Okay. So the scanners must love these because they're the same shade as teeth. And most intraoral scanners love to scan teeth and struggle with gums and bone and blood. So the fact that they're white and the fact that there's so much contrast on them, they look like teeth to a scanner.
Exactly. You don't have to sandblast them.
No.
They're ready to go.
Right.
Just one more thing to mention, the scan bodies, it's a one set. There's two different ways of doing it. You can do it, you put them on, and then you capture implant position, you take them on, you put in your preferred healing caps, and then you capture that with the intraoral scanner. That's a protocol.
Right.
Also, the other protocol would be just to leave them on. Right. It's a preference. You don't have to do it. You can just take the scan bodies, put them on the multinus before you suture. Okay. And then you're going to capture implant positions. You can graft and suture around if you like that.
Right.
And then take your intraoral scanner and capture the tissue at that moment. They stay in place. What happens is, of course, you're good at it. Some people, because we see it with design, what happens on, off, sometimes you put them back on and there's something under it.
Right.
And then everything is going to be slightly off.
Slightly off there.
Yeah.
So tremendous advantage from these updates to the system. And that's, from a customer-based perspective, that's great to know that the company's listening to feedback and modifying. So I use this device, this instrument every day in my clinic, and we use it in our courses. And one of the things that everyone always asks is, how is this support? Right? Because things can go wrong. This refuses to turn on. The software's acting buggy.
Yeah.
I think you guys have one of the strongest support networks of any of these companies out there. So tell us a little bit about how doctors can feel comfortable about buying this product.
Absolutely. So what it is when you buy equipment, it's mainly, I would say sometimes it's 80% support, 20% equipment.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is a piece of equipment, it's advanced, something can happen. Right?
Anything.
I mean, it can. That's why we added the bumper guards to protect it.
Right.
But at the same time, things can happen. It can be dropped, it can break. So what we can do for anybody that has an issue, we have a backup unit. We're going to ship them out within 24 hours.
Okay.
So, and then we'll take the unit and deal with it. And at the same time, we have 3 people on standby at the office with the 800 number.
Okay.
And if you have any issues, you call them, and then they're gonna help you out.
Okay.
Okay. But if you have a problem, let's say you call and they don't answer, then call me.
Right. Well, that's
7 days a week.
I was going to say that's always been your strength, Gus.
Anytime.
If I've ever needed anything, literally, if I don't get a message from you, I call the police.
Exactly.
Then I know you're buried in the sand
something
somewhere.
happened. And, support is and I'm obsessed with this. This is my passion.
Right.
I like helping people, and it comes down to just being there for them, right?
Right.
So yes, the support is we're very strong on support. And we're gonna, like you mentioned a couple of days ago, things are gonna. Yes, this is the latest technology right now, but later on things will change. There's
Absolutely.
gonna be no more needs for different things, and 2 or 3 years from now, it's gonna be something completely different.
Probably, but I always say the sooner that docs and labs get on board with what's current, the easier it is to stay current. If you wait and wait and wait, and you don't know how to program the VCR, like that is not okay in this day and age. You need to embrace digital technology. You need to embrace digital workflows, and through working with companies like Gus's and Full Arch Masters, that is the place to learn. And the longer you wait, the harder the adaptation is, not only for you but for your team.
Exactly.
I always tell people, get on board with this technology as soon as possible. And it will pay dividends in your career, in your practice, and in your patients' lives ultimately.
Absolutely, and it's not a phase. Some people think, you know what? Let few people test it out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this is tested.
It's done. We're done with the testing.
This
phase.
is ready for mainstream, and
Yes.
and it needs to be mainstream. And one other thing that I would like people to know is, it's not just for full arch cases. It's actually for any multi-unit cases. So I've actually transitioned away from doing 3-unit bridges on custom abutments. I now do my 3-unit implant bridges with multi-units and photogrammetry and monolithic zirconia bridges. So much easier to do, so much more predictable, so much more retrievable. And then, God forbid, the patient loses the rest of their teeth. You already have 2 implants with multi-units on.
Right.
So you have already baked in your insurance policy, and I tell patients that I'm preparing you for the future by doing it this way, and they always appreciate that. So this is not just something that a full arch dentist needs. This is a device that every dentist that does multi-unit implant dentistry needs.
Absolutely.
I've used this on anterior bridges. I've used this on posterior bridges. I've used this on partial arches, so going from like molar to canine, where the patient has 3 or 4 good teeth and we just want to replace a segment. I've used this on FP1 cases. I've used this on every type of fixed multi-unit implant case. So if you're in a clinic that does 30 3-unit bridges a year,
then
it still makes sense. You're going to have 100% passive fit on all those prosthetics. You're going to have increased workflows. I now put 2 implants in for a posterior bridge, and then put the multi-units on. I take the photogrammetry and I give them a same-day provisional for their 3-unit bridge.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it's like, what amazing service. Literally, the patient is finished with a 3-unit implant bridge that day. They come back in 4 to 6 months, and I switch it from a printed one to a zirconia one that's already pre-made. Like that's a no-brainer from a practice building standpoint.
Exactly.
Are they going to tell their friends to go anywhere else? My doctor took out a tooth, put in 2 implants, gave me a bridge that day, and I had no problems.
Exactly.
So I do that routinely for even partial arch cases now.
And people don't know that.
People don't know that
People
at all.
think they have to go direct the fixture on 3-unit bridges, and it's on the angulation issues and
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's definitely, and then when you have a full arch case, you can still use it.
You literally unscrew that piece and include it with the rest. I've done that so many times I stopped counting. So you're able to stage cases for your patients. For instance, I can think of one patient where she had stable 6 through 11, like the anteriors, and both posteriors were gone. She was wearing a partial. So I put 4 dental implants in, and we did photogrammetry, and we made her 2 screw-attain 3-unit bridges. That was probably a couple years ago. She gets into a car accident, and all the crowns and bridges are broken, and the 2 implant bridges are fine. So what did I do? I removed the rest anterior 6. I used the same 4 implants that I had. I placed 2 more in the front, and I delivered her an all-on-6 in the same visit.
Wow.
So it's like I used photogrammetry twice on her. I used it for the 3-unit bridges, and then I used it for the full arch. So photogrammetry is an indispensable tool. There's a million ways that you can use it. I use it on all my revision cases, so older cases that had cast bars, The patients come in, I immediately tell them that it's time to upgrade their prosthetics. It's been 5-10 years. Implants look great, but the prosthetics are starting to wear out. I use the Micron Mapper on all those cases. We digitize those cases and we upgrade their prosthetics. Great revenue stream.
Exactly.
I just made another. I just did the patient a service, and I charged them $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 for a new prosthetic. They love it even more. They're telling more people.
Wow,
so
that's almost the price of like an overdenture sometimes.
Right. So they've already invested. 10 years ago they invested. Now they're upgrading to the new technology. They understand. They see the difference between what I had to do then and what I'm doing now, and it's a practice builder.
And they're impressed when they come to your office and they see that you have this latest technology, from facial scanners to. It's impressive, right? It's peace of mind that this guy is up to date, versus the guy that says pouring stone models. It's not in date.
It's not up to date. Well, thanks for coming back, Gus. I know you must be tired. You must probably looking to get home to your family. I appreciate you spending 2 weeks out here in Fresno, California for our FAM Stravaganza 2-week back-to-back courses. So if you want to learn more about the Micron Mapper, if you want to learn more about digital dentistry, Full Arch Masters is the place. You can find Gus Khalil on Facebook. He's pretty famous or infamous, depending on who you ask. But he's out there and he's very visible, and he's more than willing to answer any of your questions. I, as well, am famous or infamous, depending on who you ask. You can always reach out to me online and ask questions about Micron Mapper or any other piece of technology that you're interested in. So thank you for joining in to another edition of the Full Arch Masters podcast. Again, I'm Dr. Ryan Dunlop, and I hope you have a fantastic day.